And it looked like Becky Hammon is not happy with Asia Wilson for her lack of performance in this first game.
Team's ability to handle a game where Asia is not able to dominate. Where would you rank your level of concern surrounding that, and how do you guys kind of fix that?
It's not necessarily my level of concern. I know we're capable, but not when we play like that. God forbid Asia doesn't drop 40 for us. But we had 12 assists tonight in 40 minutes, 12, and 12 turnovers. But you can start on the defensive end. Clearly we had no answer for Mitchell. Couldn't even attempt to slow her down a little bit.
Was this Wilson's most overrated performance ever?
The Las Vegas Aces were utterly humiliated, and Becky Hammon minced no words. After Aja Wilson was handed her gleaming MVP award, she went on to produce one of her poorest showings against the Indiana Fever, of all opponents. All the while, Kelsey Mitchell was simply on fire. To the Aces faithful, prepare for the fallout, because the coach was furious. Could this have been Wilson's most overhyped performance to date?
Funny, bro, because Asia Wilson was presented the MVP today. Oh, they brought out all the bells and whistles for Asia Wilson, bro. And I'm here to tell you, she played horribly bad. Now, we know that Kelsey Mitchell was nominated as the 5th player to be voted for to win the MVP. Now, we know, as of recently, Kelsey Mitchell been looking like she's the best damn player.
It's not the story you'd anticipate after an MVP ceremony. Aja Wilson being publicly criticized by her coach following a defeat. But that's precisely what happened. The Indiana Fever marched into Las Vegas, thoroughly exposed the Aces, and made Wilson appear as anything but a most valuable player. And Becky Hammon, she refused to soften the blow. The entire situation was steeped in irony. Just before the game, the league had faded Wilson, presenting her the MVP hardware in front of every camera. This was supposed to be her coronation, a night where she dominated and proved her status as the league's best. Instead, she turned in a showing so lackluster that Fever fans were celebrating, Aces fans were despairing, and Hammon was left seething. That great steal by Alexi Hall against Atlanta to seal the win felt like a distant memory. Compounding the issue, on the other side of the court, Kelsey Mitchell was absolutely dismantling the Aces' defense. Mitchell, who many thought was a long shot for the MVP conversation, played with a fierce determination to silence her critics. Every attempt she made seemed to find the net. Pull-up jumpers, three-pointers, drives to the basket, free throws. She had Vegas scrambling by halftime. By the final buzzer, she made Wilson's MVP award feel like a cruel twist of fate. Let's back up for a moment. In the post-game press conference, Becky Hammon's expression was one of pure exasperation. She met every question head-on. She offered no excuses for her star player. She laid it all out. Their defense was absent, their offense had stalled, and Wilson's failure to dominate made the Aces look painfully average.
I know we're capable, but not when we play like that. God forbid Asia doesn't drop 40 for us. But we had 12 assists tonight in 40 minutes, 12, and 12 turnovers. But you can start on the defensive end. Clearly we had no answer for Mitchell. Couldn't even attempt to slow her down a little bit. I thought it was really poor.
The coach laid it out. 12 assists and 12 turnovers in a 40-minute game. That isn't the mark of a title contender. It's the kind of sloppy play you'd see at a local gym. The issue went beyond just missed jumpers. Hammond highlighted the blown layups, 9 or 10 missed point-blank shots. Those are absolute backbreakers. Couple that with Wilson's failure to assert her will on the game, and you could see Indiana sense an opportunity. Let's discuss Wilson's part in this collapse. A 3-time MVP is not supposed to appear so pedestrian in a playoff game. She had decent looks, certainly, but almost made it. Doesn't cut it when you are the league's benchmark for greatness. Spectators aren't interested in near misses. They expect total control. What they witnessed was the direct opposite. Concurrently, Caitlin Clark, now a sophomore, was directing Indiana's attack with composure, finding Boston inside, generating space for Mitchell, and keeping the Fever poised. It feels surreal to say, but Wilson wasn't the most influential player on the court. She wasn't even the most influential forward. Boston out-hustled her, Mitchell outclassed her, and Clark dictated the pace. This brings us to the sarcastic conclusion. A'ja Wilson may hold the MVP trophy, but awards don't secure playoff victories. Performance does, and in this contest she looked as if she could use some pointers from Clark on rising to the occasion. Becky Hammon wasn't just angry, she was mortified. You could detect it in her voice. The Aces are meant to be the titans of the WNBA, the franchise everyone dreads playing. Instead, they seemed unable to match Indiana's tempo. Hammon was blunt. They showed no pursuit, no extra effort, and no defensive integrity. They were eaten alive by screens. And her attempts at a small ball lineup for offensive spark just led the Aces back to their worst tendencies. There's no way to dress it up. Mitchell danced around them. She scored 17 before halftime and stayed hot. Vegas allowed her to find her rhythm with uncontested shots. By the time they acknowledged she was unstoppable, the game was lost. Hammon conceded it wasn't a single defender's fault. Stopping a scorer of Mitchell's caliber requires a team effort. But a team effort demands, well, effort. The Aces simply didn't bring it. Now contrast that with Caitlin Clark. Last year, she was the celebrated rookie, the W's new star. Pundits questioned her resilience and her capacity to adjust. Now in her sophomore year, her rookie days are clearly behind her. Her command stabilized Indiana whenever the Aces attempted a rally. She made the intelligent plays, the unselfish passes, the key adjustments to the game's flow. She didn't need to score 30. Her very presence was a game changer. That is the exact disparity Hammon was hinting at. When Wilson faltered, no one else emerged. The ball movement ceased, and no adjustments were made. The Fever, conversely, have numerous threats who can deliver when called upon. Boston secured the paint, Mitchell shouldered the scoring, Clark ran the show. Even their bench players contributed with high energy. Indiana appeared united, Vegas appeared disjointed. Even more troubling for the Aces is that Wilson's poor performance isn't a one-off issue. Hammon stated plainly that Wilson rarely has 2 bad games in a row. That's coach speak for don't let this happen again. But the very need to defend Wilson by labeling it an off night underscores the severity of the problem. No one demands flawlessness, but MVPs are not supposed to crumble in the postseason spotlight. Fans immediately picked up on the irony. Social media erupted with wisecracks about Wilson getting her MVP award only to perform like a bench player. Memes contrasting her stats with Clark's court generalship were rampant. Some argued the league awarded the wrong person. Fair or not, perception is reality, and Wilson handed her detractors plenty of material. Simultaneously, Mitchell's ascent has been remarkable. She has transformed from being just a scorer on a struggling team to the driving force of an Indiana squad that now topples giants. Witnessing her carve up Vegas as Wilson vanished made Hammon's anger predictable. Nothing frustrates coaches more than a lack of effort, and the Aces' passivity revealed significant underlying problems. Consider this. This is the very Aces team that forged its identity on grit, depth, and elite talent. Yet here they were, appearing confused, stagnant, and a step behind. Hammond even noted their huddles were lifeless. That is not an issue of talent, it is an issue of mindset. Indiana, meanwhile, is feeding off its underdog status. No one saw their rapid ascent coming, but here they are. They have defeated the Aces before, along with other top teams, and now they have made Vegas look completely baffled on its home court. The Fever compete with urgency. The Aces compete with entitlement. The difference could not have been more stark. So it's time for the hard question. Can A'ja Wilson truly be the most valuable player if she can look so average in critical matchups? Or do Clark, Boston, and Mitchell signal a new era where performance consistently lives up to the hype? Wilson possesses the awards, but past achievements don't win current championships. Those are won on nights like this, where she was a complete non-factor. Becky Hammon did not conceal her displeasure with anyone. She criticized the stalled offense, the poor defensive rotations, and even the inability to make simple layups. These are not superstar-level issues. These are fundamentals. And when a team botches the fundamentals, the responsibility rests not just with the role players, but with its leader. That leader is Wilson. This wasn't the first time the Aces have been challenged, but the issue was their lack of response. When Indiana mounted a 10-0 run, Vegas folded. The Fever played with what Hammon called pep, while the Aces plodded through possessions as if they wanted to be anywhere else. The difference was comical. The poetic justice of Wilson's off night occurring against Indiana is inescapable. The Fever are the league's main storyline, with Caitlin Clark drawing new fans, Aaliyah Boston proving herself as a premier big, and Mitchell showing she's a true primary weapon. Indiana is youthful, spirited, and determined. Vegas is veteran, accomplished, and it seems complacent. And complacency is the trait Hammon detests above all. Her remarks on effort were more than just coaching platitudes. She zeroed in on the lack of pursuit, the laziness on screens, the failure to make second and third efforts. The subtext: the Aces were soft, and for a team considered the league's dominant force, being soft is inexcusable. Wilson has cultivated an image as an unstoppable presence, a player who can dominate any opponent. But when you're outworked by Boston, outshined by Mitchell, and outthought by Clark, your trophy collection becomes irrelevant. On this particular evening, Wilson wasn't the face of the league, she was lost in the shuffle. The major question is how Vegas will react. Hammond asserted that Wilson won't have 2 bad games back-to-back. Is that confidence or wishful thinking? Because Indiana is unconcerned with Wilson's past accomplishments. They are focused on winning, and with their current level of play, they could easily push Wilson into another difficult outing. The judgment on social media was swift and harsh. MVP of what? One user tweeted. Missing very predictably. Others quipped that Mitchell deserved to be given Wilson's MVP award on the spot. Even Fever supporters, who are not typically confrontational, were shocked at how easily Vegas was dismantled, and Hammond, despite all her coaching acclaim, could not portray it as anything other than a complete failure. Vegas has been coasting on its reputation for too long. They are champions, yes. They are stacked with talent, yes. But a reputation does not win you games today. Hard work does. Execution does. And by both measures, Indiana dominated them. So the reality is this: Wilson may be the league's marquee star, but on this night, she was not in Caitlin Clark's league. Clark's sophomore poise, Boston's command of the paint, and Mitchell's scoring barrage were everything Wilson was not. Dependable, impactful, and bold. That's what drove Hammond to her breaking point. She is done with justifications. She understands there is no room for error, and if Wilson fails to meet the challenge, Indiana will gleefully end any talk of a Vegas dynasty for good. A point that is frequently missed is how moments like this resonate within a team's locker room. Players hear every comment a coach makes in a press conference, and when Becky Hammon essentially says we showed no fight, that message lingers. Seasoned players might dismiss it, but it can be internalized by younger ones. Instantly, the Aces' chemistry becomes about more than just executing plays. It's now about professional pride and taking responsibility. Wilson has always embraced the spotlight. She revels in being the focal point of the league's marketing, the face on posters, the athlete the WNBA promotes to its fan base. Nights like this are particularly damaging because they contradict that carefully crafted image. It's one thing for a supporting player to have a quiet night. It's quite another for the league's standard bearer to look pedestrian while its emerging talents shine brighter. The Fever's emergence makes it all the more painful. This isn't a powerhouse like the Liberty making news. This is a franchise that was a laughingstock just a short time ago. Each victory for Indiana pushes the narrative further away from Vegas. The Aces' aura of invincibility is gone, and the psychological advantage they once had is eroding. When opponents no longer fear you, the path back to the top becomes exponentially harder. There is also the weight of history to consider. Dynasties are not merely constructed on titles. They are forged in how they handle adversity. The Houston Comets once seemed invincible until the rest of the league adapted. The same occurred with the early Sparks. The Aces are at a similar crossroads. They must either evolve or be added to the list of great teams that could not maintain their reign. Hammond's tirade was about more than strategy. It was a clear warning: compete with more intensity, or this era will end much sooner than anyone imagined. And the craziest part, Indiana didn't require a 40-point game from Caitlin Clark or Aaliyah Boston to be completely dominant. They just played cohesive team basketball, believed in their game plan, and exploited every vulnerability Vegas showed. If the Aces believe this was merely a fluke, they are in for a harsh awakening, because the Fever are gaining momentum, and the league will not pause for Vegas to sort out its issues. Wilson may recover personally, but if the Aces as a team don't regain their competitive fire, losses like this will become more frequent, and Hammond's patience is not infinite. Becky Hammon's anger was palpable, and Aja Wilson's MVP celebration quickly soured. The Fever laid the Aces' flaws bare, Mitchell was the star of the show, and Caitlin Clark once again demonstrated her game-changing abilities. Vegas is now facing tough questions, and Wilson has a great deal to prove. Share your opinions below, click the like button, and subscribe for more analysis.